Mark Bassingthwaite, the risk manager here at ALPS, and welcome to the latest episode of ALPS In Brief, the podcast that comes to you from the historic Florence Building in beautiful downtown Missoula, Montana. I'm on the road today and out in South Dakota at a convention, and have had the pleasure to meet Tamara Nash. And she is the Director of Experiential Learning and a lecturer at the University of South Dakota School of Law. And first, I just want to say welcome,
Thank
Tamara.
you.
It's a pleasure. Before we get into the topic that we're going to be discussing today, I would love to just to have you share a few things about yourself. Introduce yourself. What does the audience need to know and enjoy hearing about?
Sure, yeah. So I am a recent transfer to the law school, but I would say probably more importantly, I'm a proud aunt, first generation law student, first generation college student. I am a serial joiner, so bar junkie.
I love it.
Yes, I just, in the midst of joining clubs and organizations, I'm usually there.
Okay.
So really involved in the South Dakota State Bar, the
Yeah.
American Bar Association, the Young Lawyers Division.
Yeah.
I love to bake. I try to rival Betty Crocker, cupcakes.
Oh, we're
and
kindred spirits
yeah.
there on some things.
Yes.
I
yes.
can see that.
It's my de-stressor. But yeah, just, I like to be with friends and family and fellowship and, try to find time to watch a good show on Netflix here or there.
Oh, yeah. I get that too. Well, let me ask, maybe, what initially brought you into law? Where's the interest? How did that arise?
So really interesting. I actually had a 6th grade project that planted the whole seed, and it's actually all tied into Project Destination, and I think we'll kind of have an interwoven conversation that ties into this question. So in 6th grade, I had a teacher, we did a mini society project, and we had our own country name, we made our own money, and at the end of the year, we had our own stations where we did our own things. So some of us sold stationery. One of our classmates sold hot dogs, which is really questionable when you trust 6th graders to cook and sell you hot dogs. But we're doing our thing, and one of the classmates who was selling hot dogs, his classmate fired him because he wasn't pulling his end of the weight, and he was very upset about that. So my teacher said, hey, you can do something about that. So our class had a wrongful termination lawsuit, and some of us were jurors, we had a judge, and I was his lawyer. It was really fun. We had a really good time, and we won. I don't know if fair practices happened. I don't know if we played by the rules, but my teacher, Mr. Simmet, best teacher I've ever had, said, I think you really enjoyed that. And he brought in 3 black women attorneys to come talk to me. We sat in the cafeteria, and they told me what it was like to be a lawyer, what it meant, and just always stuck with me. Of course, I still had to go to high school, I still had to go to college, but then it became time to figure out, what's next? And I took the LSAT and enrolled at the University of South Dakota.
That is such a cool story, and what a creative teacher.
Yeah.
We all have certain favorite. My favorite teacher is Miss Fleshman from 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And, but we have these memories, and it's fascinating in terms of the impact that they have long term in your life.
Absolutely.
These seemingly small kind of interesting things, but boy, do they have big ramifications. We had brought up Project Destination, and that's really what I am interested in learning about myself and sharing with our listeners. So, what is Project Destination? Maybe that's where we start.
Absolutely. Would love to tell you. So at its core, it's a pathway or pipeline program that goes into schools. We target students anywhere from, elementary school to high school. We have gone into post-secondary and really just plant the seed that, hey, have you considered the legal profession? We're open to talking to any student, but we specifically target Native American students. students.
Okay.
In the South Dakota bar, we have about 2,700 lawyers, but we have anecdotally maybe 10 to 15 Native American attorneys. Our bar doesn't collect demographic details on ethnicity or race. So I say anecdotally because
Yes.
that's, you know, looking around the bar and kind of counting what we have. So that is our most underrepresented group of attorneys. So we want to find a way to reach that population, and it's quite profound to go into a school and speak to a group of individuals who don't see people who look like them and say, hey, have you thought about this?
Mm-hmm.
You can do this.
Right. Yeah.
And especially put forth an example that looks like them. And that was the experience I had in 6th grade,
Right.
to see an example of myself, of someone who says, hey, I look
Yeah.
like you,
Yeah.
and this is what I do, and you can do it too. So Project Destination essentially goes into the school, does a moderated panel, and just chats with students about what does it mean to be a lawyer. The panelists, who are all young lawyers, hopefully as diverse as we can make it, so a corporate attorney, a prosecutor, a defense attorney, just a general practice attorney, and explains what they do every day, talks about law school, talks about the bar, and just lets students know that this is an attainable goal. And the goal is essentially holding up a mirror to a student and letting them know that this idea is attainable. So
What I love about this too, and just in terms of, and sharing with all of you listening to this, the smile, the authenticity of your story, investment, it just, I find it, you know, God bless kind of thing. But it seems to me you're paying it forward. You know, you're continuing what this teacher did in very creative and meaningful ways. That's awesome. How old is this program?
yeah, so we're still new-ish. We were able to start the program in 2017.
Okay.
And then, of course, COVID happened.
Oh, wow, yes.
We're all
right.
familiar with that caveat,
Yes,
right?
right.
So we came out the gate running the year that we launched it. Our then Young Lawyer Section President, now Judge Abby Howard, we launched with a strong start. We reached about 150 students. We had about 25 young lawyer volunteers. And then we pivoted to a virtual setting. So we are thrilled to get back into the schools in person this bar year.
And would you say you're finding a lot of success with it? And how are you measuring that right now? Because I assume nobody's gone off to law school quite yet. We haven't been there quite long enough. But
Yes. So I would say yes, we have had success, and I would say we measure that in a couple ways. So success in just a purely objective way. We've been recognized by the ABA Young Lawyers Division and the ABA broadly with 2 awards. In 2017, we received a grant from the Young Lawyers Division. It's the Embracing Diversity grant, and that seeks to recognize any pipeline pathway program that just digs in and does the work. And so we submitted Project Destination in its first year, and we won 2nd place and received $1,000 to just keep doing the work.
Right.
So we continued, and then in 2020, the ABA recognized us with the Partnership Award, which essentially looks at any bar program doing DE&I work that says, hey, tell us what programs you're doing.
Right,
How
right.
can we, put forth a model so that other bars can replicate it? And we were recognized with that award at the 2020 ABA meeting. But I would say more importantly, success in the context of the profession and pathway and pipeline programs is not necessarily measured by numbers. This work is measured by the ripple effect. Reaching one student is success. And if you go to a school and there's one student in the room that you reach, that is point blank success. The effect that you have by touching one student's life it impacts generations.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree.
So you have, my teacher reached me, and I came to law school, and that pays dividends for me, my hopeful children to come in the future, and their children. And so that is success. That's profound. So our goal is not to hit a X number of students per year. Our goal is to reach one child and to change their perspective of what they are capable of.
It's the butterfly effect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is part of this too to try to, South Dakota is not unique in terms of rural states and some of the problems we face. There are lots of unmet needs. And I would anticipate, and I'll be honest and say I don't have firsthand knowledge, but I would anticipate there are probably a fairly significant portion of people on the reservations that do not have access in terms to legal services. Is part of the intention or desire of the program to meet that need as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think part of the need, it's multifaceted. It's to change the perspective of the community to not just a negative perception, to create that exposure, to shift a dynamic and perception of a student's own capability, but also to meet those legal services needs. And there's that multidimensional need in the rural nature that a lot of our reservations have, but also in the demographic need, that we do not have lawyers who look like the communities we're serving. And that is very problematic because it continues to, I think, create a lack of trust in our system, and we should represent the people we're charged to serve.
Yes.
And so I think that is kind of that, dual issue that we're hoping to address. And, I think more broadly, we have rural deserts that we want to serve. So Project Destination serves our broader community, just in rural schools where we have students who may not have an attorney for miles upon miles.
Right.
So it's a win-win in all facets, but also gets students through the door who are underserved.
So how do you see, we've come out of COVID and we're kind of finding our feet again, and that's awesome. Where do you see the program? What does it look like in 5 years?
So
where are we moving toward?
I hope that we move towards a more cohesive approach with our broader bar, and I'm really excited for our leadership. We have just immense support by our bar presidents, our bar commission, our executive director, but to really be all on one page, all moving forward. So it's the full force of the South Dakota Bar, and throwing all our efforts, all of our energy. You kind of can't be a jar of marbles thrown on the ground, scattered in different directions. But I think playing the long game to decide what age groups we target and why that matters. A lot of the research shows that early intervention for pathway is actually more effective. And I think folding in broader strategies for pathway, financial education, which folds into student debt research, which we know is the number one problem.
Huge
yes,
issue.
I know that very intimately as a young lawyer, but folding in those strategies, discussing access barriers to the profession and to law school. So I think just really having honest dialogues around the profession, around pathways, not just encouraging students to come, but really looking at why some folks have not been able to get into the profession and why they leave, because retention and attrition are also issues.
Well, that's an excellent point. Yeah, I do a lot of education just on attorney wellness.
Yes.
And boy, has COVID made those issues even far more significant. And then you factor in these debt issues and there's just so many things.
The onion.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. I kind of want to ask an open-ended question.
Okay.
What about Project Destination, all of this? Don't I? What do you really want to share? Just just go wherever you want to go with it.
Sure. So I think what I would love to share is that I think some folks don't know where their place is in this conversation.
Okay.
And it's all of our battles. We all have a place and a stake in this conversation and in the effort of pathway efforts. And I think we would see our efforts move so much more quickly. The needle would move forward much more seamlessly if we all bought in to that idea and to that notion. So I would just really like folks to know that, that we're all part of this conversation. We all have ownership. And it's just a matter of understanding where we are in the conversation, when we amplify the voices of others, and when we step in as an ally, and that it matters to our profession just immensely, and that we all owe it to our profession to pay it forward and to be a part of enriching our profession and servicing our community.
Yeah, I get where you're going with that. You know, I talk about some similar issues at times, again, in what I do in risk management and ethics and things. But, you know, you hear a lot of lawyers complain about problems that bars face, or, you know, and they never want to do anything about it. You know, it's if you want to complain, okay, I think you should have the freedom, the ability to complain a little bit, but not if you're not willing to step up and try to do something about solving the problem.
Yeah.
You know, I that's so important. I love the hearing the story and learning a bit more about Project Destination. You have obviously been very involved with this, and I suspect have a great deal of intellectual capital in projects like this. Would you be open to having folks listening if anybody has some interest in and just being a resource?
Absolutely.
May I have you share a little contact information
Yes.
with people? So.
Yes. So I would love to chat about how we can serve as a resource, share ideas, collaborate, expand it beyond South Dakota. So my email is probably one good resource. So that is TAMARA, P as in Paul, NASH, numeral 1 at gmail.com. And then you can always reach out to me by phone, and that's 712-301-9224. And I would love to see this grow and expand and see other bars incorporate it, make it better, enrich it. I think that is the beauty of bar service, is we replicate and we implement how it serves our members best.
Well, I really have enjoyed visiting with you. The excitement is contagious. I love the story of how you got here and how you are using, as I see it, this childhood experience had such an impact, but you've played that out in spades in so many ways, and I just think what a fascinating story. So thank you for taking the time to sit down and visit with me. I will say, do you have any final comment? Anything else you'd like to share?
No, okay. I would say take the program, make it better. We're excited to see what you do with it.
All right. Well, sounds good. Well, folks, I hope you found something of value today and enjoyed hearing Tamara's story. I found it very, very interesting. Thanks for listening, and of course, if any of you have any thoughts on ideas, topics, other things you'd like to hear on the podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself as well. It's mbass, MBASS, at alpsinsurance.com. Thanks for listening again. Bye-bye. Have a good one.